Ladies and gentlemen, I know we get a lot of stories about the people that come across the border into the country and sending them back. But they are not the only ones. And we know this, far from the only ones that come to America illegal. A lot of these Chinese people, especially if you call these Chinese restaurants and they can barely speak English on the phone, a lot of these Chinese people are illegal too. And I'm willing to bet there's probably just as many of them here illegally as Mexicans and people from South America. But there's also another very illegal group. A lot of these Muslims that are walking around here, they are illegal too. And recently, and actually for the last couple of years, they have been rounding these folks up and shipping them back over to what they call the Middle East, which is really Africa. But they're shipping them back there. So in 2017, the Trump administration ordered step-up deportations of Iraqis convicted of felonies who were in the U.S. legally, but had not become citizens. U.S. and international law prevent deportation back to countries where deportees would be under threat. But ICE has continued to deport Iraqis to a country now wrecked by anti-government protest and renewed violence. Many of the detainees hadn't seen Iraq since they were children, and some had never seen it at all. Most served time for felonies in the U.S. prisons years ago, and those convictions have prevented them from becoming citizens. So these are people from all over, ladies and gentlemen, all over the Middle East. So, but they're focusing on these Iraqis, but there's far more than Iraqis. Let me just tell you, there's definitely more. I'm going to go ahead and play this audio for you because, this is another group of people, these Iraqis. They are stepping up and getting out of the country. There are a lot of illegal people in America, and I believe the number is quite sizable, ladies and gentlemen. And here's the thing, even if Trump rounds these people up, you may have ultimately the next president that follows him that's pro-immigration, and these folks will be able to come here illegally and thrive once again. So let's go ahead and listen to this audio.
This message comes from NPR sponsor Verizon. People think of Verizon as a reliable phone company, but businesses think of them as a reliable partner. Digital transformation never stops, and Verizon keeps business ready. See how at verizon.com/ready.
U.S. immigration authorities are continuing to deport Iraqis despite the turmoil of anti-government demonstrations in that country. Many of those Iraqis in the U.S. legally but not American citizens came to the U.S. as children. As NPR's Jane Araf reports, most arrive in Iraq without the documents or the skills to get by.
I'm walking up to the apartment where Jimmy El Dawood lived and died 2 months after being deported from the U.S. It's this one. The electricity is out. There's the whine of a generator in this building, wedged between grocery shops on a downtown street. Dawood was 41. He'd never been to Iraq when he was deported here in the summer, but he had Iraqi citizenship and a string of felony convictions. So Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, picked him up in Michigan, put him on a plane, and sent Dawood, a Christian, to the holy Shia city of Najaf.
His family called me. They told me, please go pick up Jimmy. And he ain't got no papers. He ain't got no clothes, nothing, not even a penny. Anyways, he came, and it was the pressure because he can't, at least I can speak a little bit Arabic. Him, not Chaldean, not Arabic, nothing.
That's Samar Khada. He was also part of Michigan's Chaldean Christian community. Khada is covered in tattoos, including Da Vinci's The Last Supper, inked all the way up his arm. He stands out in Baghdad. He lived next door to Daoud and tried to watch out for him. 2 weeks before he died, another deportee recorded a video with Daoud on the street outside. In it, Daoud says he's scared and he's sick.
I don't understand the language, anything. I'm diabetic. I take insulin shots. I've been throwing up, trying to find something to eat.
Daoud was diabetic and, according to his family, bipolar and schizophrenic. In the U.S., he'd been homeless for years. Khada says ICE deported him with a month's worth of insulin. It's not clear whether they sent him with any other meds. ICE will only say it deported him with an adequate supply of medication. Death records say he died of heart failure. Khada says Daoud was afraid to leave his apartment. He'd sit around reading the Bible and the Quran and drinking soda and smoking cigarettes. He left his insulin out in the heat.
He talked to himself all day. God, please take me back home. Please, God. I don't know nothing over here. I'm scared. I'm Christian. I'm this, I'm that. He was walking over here naked, like with no clothes. I thought, we can't do that over here. Like he was going crazy.
Khada was in Lebanon when Daoud called him, on the floor crying and saying he couldn't breathe. An ambulance took him to hospital, where he was discharged a few hours later. When another Iraqi friend checked on him at home later that day, Daoud was lying on the floor, dead. In Daoud's bedroom, there's an unused syringe for the insulin shots he'd forget to take. And on the windowsill, there are 2 plastic toy guns with orange foam caps and bright pink plastic darts he thought would keep him safe.
Look. He sleeps with these in his hand. Every time the door opens, he do like this. Every time.
Khada pretends to shoot someone.
Throw a gun, yeah, he got him. He said, if somebody comes, I'm going to pull on him. I swear to God.
Daoud's death caused an outcry in the Michigan community he was from. His congressman is working on a bill to try to get ICE to put deportations to Iraq on hold. But ICE has kept up the deportations, sending back Iraqis who haven't lived in Iraq for decades or never lived there, back with no Iraqi ID. Without ID, when they land, they're subject to arrest at checkpoints. They can't rent apartments or get money wired.
We can't speak Arabic. We can't read and write. We can't do nothing. We can't go anywhere.
Khada has money here, but most of the Iraqis deported here have nothing.
It's shocking. Everything is shocking to me.
I meet Nishat Buttrus at a shelter run by a church in Baghdad. He has a bunk in a big bare room. There are clothes neatly folded on it. There's a picture of the Virgin Mary taped to a metal locker. Buttrus was deported in July. He'd done time years ago for cocaine possession.
I always supported my habit by working, never depended on the country, never depended on the government by giving me an aid. I always took care of myself.
He says he's been clean for years. He was deported with no money, no clothes, and no relatives here. He speaks only broken Arabic. He stayed with Jimmy Daoud for a few days. An aid organization is trying to help him get ID.
This is it. Oh.
He shows me the one-way travel document issued by the Iraqi embassy in Washington. It's in English, and it has a photo of him in an orange prison jumpsuit.
And now this government here, they're not believing in this travel documents. I can't get no IDs. I have no IDs. And I'm not allowed to leave this compound because I don't have anything to prove who I am.
He says once he gets an Iraqi ID, he'll start looking for a job. Maybe go to the Kurdish region of Iraq where he can use his English. Baghdad scares him, he says. He still can't believe he's ended up here. Jane Araf, NPR News, Baghdad.
Ladies and gentlemen, they don't care about these people. But see, one thing about immigrants, they come to America and they hate on the Black community. But at the end of the day, who deported you back there? We didn't do that. And number 2, they're going to clean house. If anything, they're going to step it up on all of these people in 2020. It's the election year. So, you think this story is bad, it's going to get worse for these folks that get caught by ICE. They are going back. They don't care if they've been over here since they were children. That's irrelevant. And you got Trump in the Supreme Court fighting to do away with DACA. And that decision is coming in 2020. They are dead serious. They're going to get these people out of here. whether they like it or not. They are going back to those countries that they came from. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's not just the people south of the border. It's people from Iraq as well. And believe me, there are more in this country that we have heard about being deported, including the Haitians and the Liberians. You know, they're not playing. They're going to get your behind out of here. And the 2020 election year, man, they don't care about you going back and you don't have ID. And, you know, obviously they don't even care if there's a war or any violence going on in the country. They are just getting you out. They don't want you here. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, family.